Okay, here we go then. So to commit to change, in this lesson, what I really want you to do is just really think about what it is you're going to commit to and how that future self is going to look. Basically, we're going to talk a lot in this course about the fact that your brain doesn't really know what memories or what pictures are real and what are not. So what I mean by that is, you can imagine eating an apple, and your brain treats it as if it is actually, your body is physically eating an apple. So we can use this as like visualization for, creating targets to hit in the future, or goals to accomplish in the future. Now, of course, we've got a framework for this commit to change, and our framework for it is the word pledge. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, you can download the framework in the PDF as part of the course resources and kind of work through it there, and you will be asked to sort of write a few things down. But let me talk to you a little bit about commitment to start with. In terms of changing people's idea of food, getting into training, sorting out their weight, preventing binge eating, all this kind of stuff, commitment plays a huge part, a massive part. And we often, when we meet people that come on the Conquer Food program, we talk a lot about commitment because lots of people say that they're going to change and they do things differently, but they don't do it. And what you've got there, that's just a promise. That's not a commitment. Commitment is, it's made up of these three parts, as you can see on the screen there. We have a thought, we think, oh, you know what, I'm going to start going to the gym. And then we have a decision. Okay, the decision is right. Okay, tomorrow or whatever, we are hitting the gym. I've got my gym stuff ready. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this for the next 6 weeks or for the rest of my life or whatever. But the final part is we need then to take action, because without the act, it's just a promise. And so many people have come and promised that they're going to do this and promised they're going to change, but it never really does change because they miss out the act. And the other thing is that, without any one of these parts here, sometimes we've got people that are just acting, they're doing loads of stuff, but they're not really thought about what it is that they're committing to. They just do it, they just go to the gym. They don't really know where they're heading. And the other people that are kind of, they can't really make the decision. For whatever reason, they're a little bit nervous, or they're scared of the unknown, or whatever. There's a little bit of fear or intrepidation, and they struggle to make the decision to actually commit. And an example that a good friend of mine and my mentor uses is like, he says to people, are you ready now for this to change? Or, what are you prepared to do in order for this to be different? Whatever this is, it doesn't really matter. Any other answer than anything at all suggests that they've not really committed to it, because as far as I'm concerned, if you've got something that you're trying to fix or something that you're trying to change, you kind of do anything. You'll do anything to get rid of it, within reason. Obviously, you're not going to have get castrated or something like that, or your mouth sewn up and all this kind of stuff. But you've got to go, okay, I'll try anything, whatever it is, I'll try whatever I need to do to get it done, then I'm going to give it a go. So we created this pledge framework, and the P stands for picture. So the idea is that, we think in pictures. Every time we think, or, we think about the future, we think about the past, or we recall a memory or whatever, we think in pictures. And, so we need to think about the picture of what is it that you're actually committing to? How is that person going to look? And, what we teach on the Conquer Food program is you don't want to be sort of thinking, right, well, I want to, because what you end up with is you end up with the want to. What you need to do is state this picture, or imagine this as if you've got it right now. You've got all these things. So if it's, you want to eat clean, we need to rephrase that as I am eating clean. So you're creating the actual picture as now, very, very vivid. Think about the colours, think about what that eating clean means and what it is that you're putting into your mouth. Think about the knife and fork that you're using, the colours of the vegetables, and the taste of the oil and the smells of the food and the sights of the things that you can see around you, and really create a really, really clear picture of exactly what it is, and go deep as you can. The next part, the L, we need to be prepared to let go of stuff, because if we commit to something, we've often got to let go of a previous commitment. right? Even if it's like not, if it's a subconscious commitment, all right? So if you have pizza every Friday night, well, you've committed to that. You made a decision, you had a thought, you made a decision, and you acted, and what you did is you committed to eating pizza every Friday night, and therefore you've got to remove the commitment. You've got to let go of that previous commitment, and even in order to have a new commitment. So we've really got to think about what we're letting go, and you've also got to think about what are you losing when you actually let go of that. And success, in my experience, is more about what you're prepared to let go, what you're prepared to give up, than it is what you're prepared to do. So many people go, yeah, but I'll do as many burpees as you want. All right, fine. Burpees, you're burning less than a calorie every exercise. What about the bottle of wine? What about the Big Mac? What about the giant pizza and or the massive curry or Chinese or whatever it is? Are you prepared to let that go? Well, and that's a different thing, because we've kind of got to think about what it is that we're getting from that. We call it secondary gain, and Paula does a lot of work about secondary gain in her coaching sessions, where what is, because human beings will only do something if there's a positive outcome for them. If they're getting something from it, even if it's like the most horrendous behavior. Let's take it to the extreme. Hitler. You sort of think about the evil stuff that Hitler did, and you kind of think, what positive? What's the positive intention behind all that? Well, he was obviously, there was something driving him. What he was getting from there, he wanted to, he was getting power, or he was getting wealth, or he was getting control, or whatever it is. But there's always a positive intention, even about the most horrendous things. And there'll be positive intentions about the food that you've got. In a later session, we're going to talk a lot about habits and what have you, and how a lot of habits that we have is like a protection. It protects us from stuff like, and maybe some of the positive intentions or the outcomes that you're getting for the habits that you've got right now are about, they protect you. They make you feel good for a brief moment of time, whatever. And you've got to be ready to give this stuff up. And this is often where people fail, because they don't really consider, they go, yeah, I'll go to the gym every day. And it's like that. When it comes to practicing it, it's like, I didn't realise going to the gym meant I was going to have to give up my coffee hour with the girls every morning, or I'm going to have my stuff washed and ready in the morning, or the fact that I'm going to miss out on the bloody loose women on TV because now I've got to be in the gym. I didn't realise that I was going to have to, feel a little bit uncomfortable with the aches and pains of exercise for a few days afterwards. And, I didn't consider all that. So we've got to have a little think about what we're prepared to let go of, and and what we're prepared to do without. The E is elevate awareness. Awareness is everything when it comes to changing habits and living a new lifestyle, because quite often, there's so many people just walking around and they're just not aware of the habits that they've got. They're not aware of the way in which they live and how they eat, and they're not even aware of the fact that they've got choice. That everything is a choice. Even if we don't feel like we've got a choice, there is a choice. There's an amazing book called Man's Search for Meaning by, it escapes me right now, Viktor Frankl, and he talked. He was a prisoner of war camp. He was a prisoner of war in a prisoner of war camp in the war, and horrendous conditions, absolutely horrendous conditions, and everything was controlled, from his food to the work that he did to the clothes that he wore and all this kind of stuff. And you kind of think, well, what choice has he got? And he decided very quickly that no matter what physical things his captors controlled, they could never control his mind. And he chose to always be in control of his own mind, and he used that to sort of get himself through the hardships of the concentration camp. It's an amazing book, and it just goes to show that there is always choice, because ultimately you're always in control of your own thoughts and pictures. By elevating awareness, you can become very aware of the times in which you engage in unhealthy habits, or you're taking all these acts that are leading you to the results that you've got right now. So we need to be quite aware of it. And don't worry, I'm going to give you examples of this in a minute when we look at the worksheet that I've got for you. The D is do. Don't just say. So many people say, oh yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing that, but they don't, actually doing it. You've got to take action in order for it to become real. And there's a saying I always use, which is you can't steer a parked car until you actually get moving. You can't steer it, you can't change it. So you've got to do, in order to be able to adjust what you're doing and go in a different direction, just get going, even if it's like the smallest little step, just get going. But you've got to do something, otherwise it is just a promise that you've made. It's not a commitment. You're not actually following through with it. So many people come to camp and they say, "Oh, I am doing this, I am doing that," but then we look at their actions, and their actions just are so louder than the things that they're saying, that it just drowns out the things that they're saying. So you've got to be doing. The G is for get help, because nobody suggests you try and crack this alone. Any change is going to be friction, and there's going to be things, obstacles and problems when you first get started. And you don't have to sort of suffer in silence and just try and crack this yourself. In fact, we highly recommend that you get yourself in the Facebook group, and you find an accountability partner, or you get people around you in your family and your friends that can help you. And in our pledge framework, we're going to help you identify who those people could be and exactly what they could do for you. And then the E then is educate, because as you progress, you're going to need to learn whole new sets of skills. You're going to need to know all ways of doing things and strategies and all this kind of stuff. And the way that you think right now will only get you so far. There's a line in the Bible which goes something like, because I've not read the Bible, but it's the skills that got us out of Egypt are not the skills that will get us to the promised land, or something like that. The route out of Egypt is not the route to the promised land, or whatever it is. And basically the story is, I believe, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Moses led a load of kids out of Egypt and was wanting to get them to the promised land, but he didn't really have the skills and the know-how and the knowledge and all this kind of stuff. And it's exactly the same with your fitness and weight loss. The things that you do right at the start they're not going to get you through to the final stage, and you've constantly got to be educating yourself and learning new stuff. It's going to be a constant process where you're kind of chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. So you need to be kind of educating yourself until you end up with the perfect you. And that educating process is a lot like Michelangelo's statue of David, which is, many people think, is the most beautiful statue that's ever been carved. And when asked, how he did it, Michelangelo said, "Well, I was walking through the wherever, and I came across a massive slab of marble, and I thought, wow, that'd be incredible statue." And apparently it took him like 2 years to drag it home with a couple of donkeys and all this kind of stuff. It took him a long time to get it back to his house, and he set it in his studio, and he started chipping away. And this, people sort of said, "Well, how did you create such a perfect statue?" And he says, "Well, every day I just went to work and I chipped away anything that wasn't the perfect David." And that's exactly what this education is for you. Every day when you learn something new, you can apply that to your life, and you can constantly keep chipping away at all the things that are not serving you and not helping you or whatever. And that's the way that you're going to become the perfect you, the person that you want to be, having lost all the weight and all this kind of stuff. So that's the 6 steps in the pledge framework. What I want to talk to you now is, obviously you can download the little worksheets, and here's the pledge framework worksheet, which I suggest you should kind of work through, and it'll really just help you think about things. And quite often, when we struggle with stuff and we don't really know what the next steps are or what to do, it's because the thinking is wrong. Okay, so we're going to make this thinking really, really simple for you. So here I've created a little bit of an example. I understand the writing's quite small, but you can download it and read it in your own time. So, with regards to the P, the picture, describe the best version of you. Get as much information down there as you want, and, really, really go deep into it. And you might be sat there thinking, well, it's not really my thing, this, Good. Good. Because remember, we're doing all this about being different and doing something different and thinking different, and, creating this very, very clear picture is going to be incredibly powerful for you. So leave your ego, leave your nervousness or your fear or the fact that you feel a little bit silly or it's not really your thing. Leave that shelve it for a little bit and just work really hard of doing this picture. You can do whatever you want. Here we've done like little sentences, but remember it's I am. It's in the present tense. I am this, I am that, I eat clean and live sugar free. So it's as it is right now, not as if it's in the future. What are you prepared to let go, or what you're going to need to let go? List what you have to give up in order to succeed. Ding, 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 ding. Get them down. And I know you're not going to get everything down right now because there'll be things that you don't even know that you're doing that's not helping. But get as much down as you can, because remember, sorting your weight loss is like a dial. It's not a switch. And every day we're going to turn the dial a little bit by bit, until eventually you're the perfect version of you. Elevate awareness. How are you going to make yourself more aware? And list a few things down there. So, you're outlining exactly how you're going to tackle this. So as we've said, list the ways you will make yourself aware of your progress. So not just of like how well you're doing, but how far you've got to go, how much frustration you've got, what you need to learn, and all this kind of stuff. And that's a constantly evolving thing. The do, not say, list, and these, we want actionable points that you can actually do. So many people go, keep journal. Well, that's not really an actionable point, because there's so many steps, there's so many small steps you need to go through in order to keep a journal. So for example, it might be go to town, buy journal, get pen, put journal by bed. There's so many little actionable steps, and that's what we kind of want. We want these actionable steps there that are actually going to work, that you can actually do. Quite often we keep a to-do list, and it's like, well, we don't actually get these to-do lists done because they're just too generalized action points, and it's not really the next thing that we can work on. So make sure it's actionable steps. The get help, list the people that can help or hold you accountable and how they can actually do it, and then obviously as part of your do, you could put down, speak to accountability partner, speak to my wife, speak to my friends or whatever, because they're actionable steps that you can take right now. And you can pick up a phone and say, look, I'm doing this, I'm going to lose some weight, I've identified this is a bit of a problem, I need your help with it, and you'll either help me or you won't. And if you won't, well, that speaks volumes of our friendship or whatever, but you can actually speak to them, and very clearly what it is you need to do. And these are all very, very small steps towards commitment. And then the educate, what skills are you lacking right now? So it might be that if you're going to give up the takeaways we've identified here, and you're going to give up refined sugar, chocolate and cakes, well, maybe you don't really have enough knowledge to cook the food. Oh, hang on, what the hell's going on here? Sorry about this. To cook the food, and therefore you need a few cooking classes, or you need to go through the food cooking demos on the Conquer Food community. Maybe you want to start practicing a bit of mindfulness, but you don't really know how. Well, you can put that down there. Maybe, you're going to go to the gym, or you're going to start running or walking or whatever, but you don't know how to use the machines, you don't really know how to put a program together. Well, that's knowledge that you're missing. And if you don't actively go and get it, how the hell are you going to succeed? And this is our point. So many people go, oh, I'm going to commit to this. This is it from now on, New Year's resolution or whatever. Things are going to be different. And then when it actually comes to it, there's too many obstacles, barriers, and pitfalls in order for you to exceed. This little worksheet will help you get rid of all of those. What you've also got in your little frameworks PDF, your little worksheets, is this Commit to Change note page, where you can, you write any notes down there, things that you think about, but also we want you to get you in the habit of reflecting. So every now and again, maybe once a week or whatever, you kind of just have a little look through your pledge framework worksheet and kind of go, right, how am I doing with this? What's working? What's not working? And these are the kind of things where, you bring that to the weekly training, and we sort of talk about it and give you some solutions, or help stimulate a bigger desire, or help you get rid of some of the obstacles, or even give you some of the learnings, the education that you need in order to succeed. Okay, so as always, make sure you share the pledge framework, and so get it filled out. You can, and then get it in the Facebook group, and that will help inspire other people, and other people can kind of say, look, that's not an actionable point, and all this kind of stuff. And remember that feedback is the food of champions. Okay, and remember that This is going to be our best shot of finally changing our life for good. And we need to throw ourselves into it, leave our egos and everything on the door, and truly, truly, truly commit to this. And remember that your actions will always drown out the things that you say. You know, so many people say to me, "No, I'm really, I'm eating really clean. I'm training really hard." Well, why are the scales going up then? Because obviously your actions, you're obviously cheating with your food, or you're not working as hard as you say you are. It's all about commitment, and the commitment will see you through long after the desire to change is gone. And that's what this is about. It's about following through. So remember those three parts: the thought, the decision, and the act. You need all three parts in order to truly commit to what's going to be different. So work through the worksheets and make sure that you feed back. Take care.